This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast
with Tony Bruschi.
Well, we knew it probably would come at some point. Bryan Kohberger getting a little more beef in his defense, if you will. The man, of course, charged with the slayings of the University of Idaho students, been granted a second death penalty qualified attorney to join his defense team. Also pointing to it being more and more likely that they will pursue the death penalty against Bryan Kohberger. As in Idaho law, you have to have 2 death penalty qualified attorneys on your defense team if you are going to be tried in a death case. Here's the whole story. Take a listen.
The man charged with the brutal slayings of 4 University of Idaho students is facing a life or death situation as prosecutors weigh their options and the defense prepares for the worst. Bryan Kohberger, 28, has been charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary in the November 13, 2022, slayings of 4 Idaho college students. Now, as the case against Kohberger moves forward, his defense team is bracing for the possibility that the prosecution will seek the death penalty. The chief of the Kootenai County Public Defender's Office, Ann Taylor, recently filed a motion to appoint a co-counsel qualified to act in cases involving the death penalty. Latah County Magistrate Judge Megan Marshall granted the motion, a clear sign that the defense considers it a high probability that the state will ultimately seek death. The appointment of a death penalty qualified co-counsel in the Kohberger case has caught the attention of legal experts, who believe that prosecutors will almost certainly seek the death penalty for Kohberger. There are multiple aggravating factors, including the 4 victims and the heinous and cruel nature of the stabbings. If you believe in the death penalty, this is a death penalty case, according to Nima Rahmani, an attorney and former federal prosecutor. Rahmani also noted that a second death-qualified attorney protects against appellate issues if public defender Ann Taylor is disqualified during the trial. Her office previously represented parents of the victims who claim that Taylor has a conflict of interest. There are reportedly only a dozen death penalty qualified lawyers in Idaho, so the court may want to take a belt and suspenders approach to avoid a possible mistrial. In an appearance on News Nation, Andrew Cherkasky, a criminal defense attorney and former federal prosecutor, noted that Idaho's administrative code requires death penalty cases to have at least 2 death-qualified defense attorneys. The Idaho Public Defense Commission maintains a roster of defense attorneys that are qualified to represent defendants in cases where the death penalty may be or has been sought or imposed. While it's not yet clear who will determine who the second death-qualified attorney in Kohberger's case will be, Cherkasky pointed to some things that will likely factor into that decision. Availability will be the primary consideration, and then secondarily the ability to come into the team as a good second chair, or even potentially lead the defense team. The pressure is mounting as the case against Bryan Kohberger moves forward, and the defense prepares for the possibility of a death penalty. With only a dozen death penalty qualified lawyers in Idaho, the stakes are high, and the outcome could determine whether Kohberger spends the rest of his life behind bars or faces execution.
This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast.
The Hidden Killers Podcast
with Tony Bruschi.
Keep it here. We'll keep you up to date on all the developments in the Bryan Kohberger case. Press subscribe wherever you download podcasts. If you don't miss any of those updates, you can get an ad-free experience when you sign up through Apple Podcasts. Do check that out. My name is Tony Bruschi. Stay with us.